Field and Stream and Outdoor America have joined forces to launch Field and Stream TV, a new fast offering. Company executives join us to explain their strategy. Listen on.
And welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Stream. This is Will Richmond from Video News, and that was Colin Dixon from Screen Media. Colin, how you doing? We're looking forward to talking with Doug and Nick today.
We are, yeah. It's great, Will. We've got Doug McNamee and Nick Rhodes from Field and Stream and Outdoor America Holdings. And we've talked a lot on the podcast, Will, about specialty services. And this is one of the reasons why we wanted to invite Doug and Nick on the podcast, because they just had an announcement last week. And Jonathan Carson from Antenna, our listeners will know that we've talked to him several times. And one of the times he was on, Will, I don't know if you remember, he said that specialty service growth is really having a moment. In fact, in their data, they showed that specialty SVOD grew at 22% year over year in 2024 and is already 12% up in 2025 versus premium SVOD services, which only grew at 11% year over year in 2024 and 10% in 2025. So they're really having a moment. So that's really why we wanted to bring you this interview, and this is obviously an interesting, very large specialty group, and I think there's a lot to be learned from it, right?
Absolutely.
So why don't we get to it?
Thanks, Colin. And today, again, we're pleased to have Doug McNamee, president of Field and Stream, and Nick Rhodes, CEO of Outdoor America Holdings. Doug and Nick, welcome.
Thanks for having us, Will.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Colin.
Honored to be with you guys. Thank you.
Great. So what we'd love it if you could do is just sort of quickly introduce your companies and your media holdings and tell us about your companies. So why don't we start with you, Doug?
Yeah, you bet. So I have the honor, and we do consider it an honor. It's a responsibility and honor to get to lead Field and Stream, and it's a brand that obviously is synonymous with so many because of its legacy. Origins date back to 1871. It's probably media origins really 1895. So you got 125 years, 130 years now of history there to tap into, which is a lot of fun. But it's been a brand that has been through a lot of different levels and layers of ownership. And candidly, it's been a brand that has been bifurcated and owned in different segmentations really since its start. It never had really a unified ownership. It was pretty early on, kind of sold off for parts. And I think it's important because I think it speaks to the strength and the value of the brand, that it hasn't been unified under one house, and yet it's still been able to sustain as long as it has. And so a group of individuals, some prominent, forward-facing entertainers and other individuals just said this is a brand that deserves to continue to serve future generations like it has ours in the past. And we probably were naive enough just to be instinctive and say, hey, I don't want to say we didn't have a plan, but we this brand is iconic, and if we're honoring and respectful to it, we can do something special, because you can't buy 150 years of history. You just can't. And so we got together, and through a couple of different transactions over the last 2 to 3 years, we're able to unify the brand under one house. And I think it's especially relevant for this conversation because of obviously the media aspect of it. And, it's a brand that's legacy is in print. Obviously, the publication has been iconic and what people are most familiar with. And it stopped in 2020. We brought it back as the first thing that we did in 2024. It looks very different than what it's ever has in the past. But we thought that was what was necessary to honor that heritage, but also position it as a modern brand in that space. And now we're really strategically trying to build out that omni-channel media content platform. We respectfully believe we are the voice of the outdoors, and we need to work hard to earn that. But it is served in kind of that Mount Rushmore type role of outdoor industry and media, and we want to make sure it stays there and it earns its space going forward. And we just are so thankful and excited and honored that Nick and his team at Outdoor America saw value in an association and a relationship with us. And it's one of those things. Nick and I have known each other now it's been an extended period of time. This is probably a year and a half in the making, and just making sure that both sides understood the value. It's the best relationships where it's complementary to each other, and we are so excited that this is the next phase for us in terms of building out our omni-channel media platform, and just feel honored that they would be interested in doing it with us, and we think there's unlimited potential there.
Thanks very much, Doug. And Nick, maybe if you could introduce yourself also, and also talk about what you guys have come together to do in launching Field and Stream TV.
Sure. So we launched Outdoor America initially in broadcast syndication a couple hours a week. We saw an opportunity with the TV station marketplace and weekend content. And the outdoor media production industry is unique in that it's the vast majority of the content comes from independent producers. So there was some high quality content available, and we had some relationships both on the distribution and the content side. Many years ago, I was part of the crew that built the Outdoor Life Network, which ironically was a trademark license to a sister publication to Field and Stream under Times Mirror magazines at the time. So the outdoor media side on the MVPD cable satellite world has become very consolidated. And as you guys well know, there were new platforms that were popping up in addition to broadcast that allowed us to move into a 24/7 streaming delivery. So the Outdoor America channel was launched, put on Samsung TV Plus and Zumo and some of the other larger, fast CTV platforms. And over the course of time, there's been an overwhelming amount of channels. And the growth of streaming and the growth of FAST has led major entertainment companies to enter the space, where initially it was primarily populated by library content, a lot of hobbyist enthusiast specialty channels that just had available tonnage and cobbled it together and put a brand around it. And we were in large part like one of those. And I think what we're seeing right now is a maturation of the sector to where the entertainment companies are no longer treating it as, hey, we've got several years of Conan O'Brien, let's make a Conan O'Brien channel, and looking at it as a primary means of consumer packaging. And to that end, that was really what led me. I was introduced to Doug, and he didn't mention it, but he has pretty powerful background with Magnolia and understands the space really well. And I felt that going forward, that premium branding and being affiliated or associated with and aligned with premium brands is going to be critical to break through the sea of sameness and just the sheer volume of channel brands that are now available. It's in the thousands. So that really is what, and it was the fortuitous timing, and that Doug and his team had built around gathered the trademark, unified it, which was really challenging. It was spread out over many, many years in different places. But the one thing that really wasn't in the portfolio was a FAST channel, 24/7 channel. So we kind of saw pretty quickly together that, hey, we have something at Outdoor America that could really enhance and complete the puzzle for their cross-platform offering under the Field and Stream brand. And it is an epic brand. And it's the gold standard, and it's been around a long time. Its recognition is unparalleled, I think, in the outdoor media space. So that's really kind of the origins of how we got started and what brought us together.
So just to be clear, you've rebranded the Outdoor Channel as Field and Stream TV, correct?
Not yet. That's going to happen in late January. We made the announcement. There's an industry convention that we're going to try and coincide the rebranding with, but we've certainly talked to our distributors ahead of time, and it's been met with a great deal of enthusiasm. So we're going to expand the content. We're going to really try and mirror editorial calendar categories and calendar and talent that Field and Stream is already working with. Keep the best of the original and high-profile producers, but I think another thing that has to happen in the fast space, and you're going to see more of it, is original content and exclusive content. So that's really where our focus is, and obviously a graphics package and branding and an ID that is built around Field and Stream.
So does the outdoor branding go away then, Nick, under
No,
this
no,
new?
we won't. We won't sunset Outdoor America entirely. We think that there's certain outdoor activities and sport types that don't necessarily mesh entirely with the Field and Stream brand. Power sports would be an example of that. So we'll keep it alive digitally on the .com and on the app, and we'll also have Outdoor America branded content on the Field and Stream channel itself. So there'll be a little bit of a nested aspect to it. So won't entirely sunset.
So can we talk then about the content strategy for the channel going forward? Because you've got a set of content that's playing on it right now. And maybe, Doug, you can sort of talk about how you're going to be participating in the creation of that content and where that content will come from.
Yeah, you bet. I mean, there's great stuff on there right now, and I think Nick and team have an incredible pipeline that's in the works. I think what we bring to the table is an editorial team that has been trusted and lives in that space, and that's eager to provide some curation and some insight in terms of direction on where we go. And so, I will tell you that we've learned with this brand, and our strategy with this brand is find the best in class and partner with them and let them do what they do well, and ensure that it aligns with kind of, I think, the direction and the guardrails of which that we want to play in. And that's what we're going to do here. Like we have a high level of trust from a programming direction with Nick and his team, and we're super excited. And I'll let him speak more to some of the pipeline of concepts and content that's in the works. But we're super excited. And to what he said, the stuff that potentially doesn't necessarily fit within our bullseye, they have outlets to where that can live in different environments. And so this I think this arrangement gives us the best of both worlds, where we can be pretty clear in terms of like, hey, this is really where we think our authority lies, and it'd be a brand reach for us to play and try to feature this other product and this other content. So I want to give Nick, because his team has been working hard, deference in terms of talking about those specific ideas, but I just say it will align very well editorial, and we've already had our editorial teams meet with their content development teams to specifically talk about, hey, this is where we're going editorially in the future, because that's from my own experience, that's where the flywheel really starts to become magical, which is in my previous life at Magnolia with Chip and Joanna's Gaines company, which I would say is one of the best modern day versions of a content to commerce company that exists. Everything really stemmed off of, that one TV show, but ultimately their journal, the Magnolia Journal, which was a quarterly publication, really set the theme approach for the season, and it carried through with everything that they did. And so we have a seasonal nature to our two journals. Our journals are twice a year. There's a waters and there's a wilderness that coincide with one's more fishing focused, one's a little bit more hunting focused. And I think that thematic approach is going to help shape directionally where we go from a content perspective as well too. And letting our editorial teams and content teams get in a room and kind of work their magic is actually a pretty fun thing, where Nick and I can step back and just say, okay, guys, here's your toys, go make it happen. But Nick, you can speak more to some of the specifics I know that they'd like to hear.
Yep. Nick?
Sure. I'm going to hold some back, Colin. We got some things that we're going to keep some powder dry for when we going to have our industry announcement. But I think to build off of what Doug said, you start with the best known, most respected expert voices that are out there as independent producers. And that has been the backbone of the industry really since we exited Outdoor Life Network. It's these producers make good content. They end up having to buy their distribution, and then they sell directly to the sponsors to support that effort and those economics. We're going to try and change that significantly to work to find exclusive relationships. We just and bring back some legacy brands. We just did with Spanish Fly, which is a legendary show that ran on ESPN, and the daughter of the founder, and then a new young expert voice is kind of rebuilding that brand. And there's already it's a good example of a kind of a built-in audience that exists. We have expert in Jamie Wilkinson, who's our head of programming and production, who is extensively involved in ESPN Outdoors. And we're going to stay with what we know works. I think where we're going to go that is different than historically what has happened is that the formats of linear television were very rigid clocks, right? You made 22-minute, 30-second shows, and then you drop the breaks in at the same time. Not the case with fast. We see an opportunity for short form content that's more topical, that's woven together under subject matter, and it hits the air faster and in context to more recent events and things that are going on. We're also going to put an emphasis on what we call the country sports lifestyle, which is really built not only around hunting and fishing and the events, but also camping, appreciation of the outdoors, culinary, and then certainly because of the core group that's involved with Field and Stream, we think that music can play a part of this, and just as the campfire of soulfulness around the whole thing. So that's really just kind of the general overview, and probably as specific as I like to get right now, if it's okay.
The digital campfire, that sounds fascinating.
It's an interesting time. I mean, there is so much out there, and I think you had before we got started when we just got chatting on the call, you asked about what's going on in terms of the marketplace and how do we see it, and the supply is overwhelming demand. Honestly, yeah. I think 5 years ago there was pretty good return on a basic kind of programmatic millisecond machine buying garbage in, garbage out spots. And now, just basic economics, there's so much of it that we think it's a race to the bottom. You really can't just throw anything up there and expect it to work. So the partnership with Doug and his team is going to be built around direct and a high degree of focus on endemic sales, cross-platform packaging, and co-productions, working directly with these key brands to make content that they want to support. The brands have to have a voice in this because historically they had very few choices. It was kind of door number one, door number two, and it was presented to them, take it or leave it. And they've returned a lot of the power, not only through their own social marketing. Many of them are getting directly into content. Yeti made a bunch of films. Dick's Sporting Goods just announced they were getting in the content business. So there's the walls have kind of they've just fallen down. They've sort of shattered, and I think we have to return back to listening carefully to those important customers in that revenue stream and making sure we're designing win-win scenarios. Because if the brands that support these specialty channels aren't happy, then your future could be difficult.
Nick, let's zero in a little bit, and maybe Doug as well. When we talk about monetization, what I heard you there talking about, I think, was primarily advertising and brand sponsorships. Are those the primary monetization methods you envision for Field and Stream TV? Because we've seen
they are for the channel. They are for the channel, Will, and I'll let Doug tell you what they're doing on the merchandising side. But it's what's missing from the FAST equation is, of course, the sub fee business. You were a Continental. We used to feast on those, and there was a lot of value creation because those were long-term MRR deals. You had monthly recurring revenue, typical distribution deal, 5 to 7 years. And that's what really primarily funded the original content. And there was rights fees and other things we were doing too. We're not in the rights fee business. We're not in the copyright rental business, and that's a good thing. But as far as the pure media piece of it, the only revenue stream you have is advertising and sponsorship. And we don't see a subscription business here. That's not to say that some version of that could not evolve, especially in foreign territories. But I think that, the F in FAST stands for free, right? So that's really where we're going to focus, is trying to get premium sponsorships at a CPM that works for that customer and is differentiated from just what's a high volume programmatic, impression based kind of campaign.
Just to add to the question, we've seen Colin and I in some other FAST situations that while, as you mentioned, advertising and brand sponsorships are key, we've seen FAST also used as an on-ramp to commerce, memberships, clubs, you name it. So it's like content in service to other revenue streams. Doug, you're nodding. Do you envision some of that happening here with Field and Stream TV as well?
Yeah, it's our model. I mean, it's to put it real direct, like we are to be really clear, we are a content platform at our core. Like that's our game, that's our gym, that's how we get a seat at the table. That's how we earn the trust. That's how we earn value in the retail equation. And for us, we think we can deliver value from an advertiser's perspective. Absolutely. And we will. We're like our advertising community is ecstatic. I mean, candidly, we don't have enough inventory to sell them. Just we do 2 publications a year on the print side, and limited impressions from a digital perspective is you can only sell me ad pages. They want more of a more omni-channel approach from the advertising perspective. So we've gotten incredible response for our ad community to jump to make this a part of their spend with us. But yeah, our model is real simple. Our model is earn the trust and awareness through content media. That's your core business. But the monetization ultimately is made through retail relationships, experiential. So our ecosystem is pretty wide. I mean, we have a lodge, the first of what we expect to be a large line of lodges in Bozeman, Montana. We have a deep relationship with a tremendous partner in Tractor Supply. We have a membership as part of our community. There's a lot of other retail relationships that we have at work. And there's a lot of very successfully licensed brands that exist, and we have licensing, but it's not all licensing. A lot of those brands on the licensing side are retail native, right? So they've built their awareness and their trust with the consumer based on their history in the retail space. Our brand has retail history with the Dick's Sporting Goods relationship. It was primarily a house brand, and there wasn't a lot. It was an opening price point house brand, so there wasn't a lot of history with the product. Our connection with our audience still comes down to that publication. People know Field and Stream because of the publication, and so for us now, as we go to retailers and partners in that space, our job is to drive awareness and traffic, but also increase the value that a transaction can merit with our name associated with it. And to be able to earn that right, we have to invest and feed into that flywheel of the overall brand ecosystem. And so that's what this is. Like it's as you can imagine, it's a very compelling case to go to our partners and say, hey guys, we've got our name 24/7 on a platform like this, and in a linear with all the homes that Nick's team has reached on the linear side of the equation. So it is a powerful weapon in our arsenal. And back to the streaming exclusively, our advertisers and our team, our ad sales team, which I would just tell you is one of the best, is just foaming at the mouth for this opportunity to then be able to go out and go to our partners and say, hey, we appreciate you trusting us with these tools. How would you like to now jump in this equation?
Yeah. So I heard you say community is a very important aspect of what you do. One of the places, of course, people gather with community is social media. So I'm really interested in your social strategy. And I wanted to particularly ask about, I was doing some poking around on YouTube before we got on to discuss this. And so good news is, oh my goodness, are there ever a lot of producers on YouTube? I was looking at Black Tip H, 5 million subscribers. There was Kendall Gray's got 3.2. Deer Meat for Dinner has 3.4 million. So this is clearly one of the areas where hunting and fishing is alive and well and gathering a large number of people. Fascinated to hear what your strategy is there. Are you planning on using or reaching out to some of these guys, some of these creators, to maybe create content for your channels, and how you're planning on using social media generally?
Nick, if you want to go first, I have some thoughts, but I'll give you the first go.
Yeah, no, I'll hand you to talk about what you've been doing on social, because it's been their Field and Stream social and SEO has been super effective. Yeah, Colin, your instincts are spot on. You have budding stars in the space. You just kind of identified a few of them that are very, very successful. There is no barrier of entry, of course, to experts to want to jump onto YouTube. We don't think it's the optimum or only format. We're going to be approaching a number of them, and we will be doing so with the mindset that they shouldn't change anything they're doing now that's successful. They should stay right where they are.
Yep.
We're not. This isn't a switch biz. This is an addition to. If you want to come on and be part of linear distribution and traditional television through a compilation of your short form, and these experts, when I referenced earlier, short form and topicality, this is where it's going to come from, almost certainly. The economics for the handful that you referenced at the top of the chain are very attractive on YouTube, but there's hundreds of others that are making really good content that could benefit by being elevated to what we're doing. So, Doug, I'll throw it back to you to talk social.
Yeah, I think one of the common misconceptions in this space and across the board is like this is a build your moat and protect your space, and like we've got to be very protective and don't engage with competitors, don't give them a platform. What's in it for us? I mean, we're going to be and we want to be respectful of the existing relationships that Nick and team has, but like we think in terms of again the content standpoint, like more people reading about hunting and fishing or watching videos about hunting and fishing, whether it's on our platform or not, is a win for us. Like it's a win for us. And so we're not afraid, and we don't need to own everything in our own ecosystem as it relates to content and media in the world of hunting and fishing. And so like we're not afraid to elevate our quote competitors and give them a platform and give them exposure, because we think this is absolutely something that comes back. And there are things that we have in the most respectful way. And I don't mean this arrogantly, but like there are features and there are aspects of our brand that we have that are not matched. Like the history and the longevity of our brand is one of one. And so like we have the utmost respect for Steve Ranella and Meat Eater and the guys at Outdoor Life, who we used to be owned by the same group. They're doing great stuff. And these individual creators you guys spoke about, and there's so many of them out there that are so talented, and we'd love to work with them all. And we'd love to prop them up and give them exposure and let them, everybody make their own economics, however that is necessary. But I think for us, like we see this as a big tent environment, and it's a small industry that everybody better get along and have respect and be friends, or you're going to get burned in the long run. And I just would tell you that our approach on this is like if you're hunting or fishing, it's good for our business. And if you read about it in Field and Stream, great. If you found out how to do it better from watching one of those influencers you just spoke of, Colin, that's great too, because it's good for us as a whole and as a space. And so we hope that our platform, and we hope that this new relationship with Nick is just seen as an opportunity for all those people to have a greater level of visibility, whether it's direct or indirect. And we're excited to actually put that in motion and maybe be a little bit non-traditional in the way that we try to give exposure to other media platforms. I think that will, in the long run, certainly come back and be a good investment for us.
Guys, we're just about out of time, but to ask a last question, maybe to bring all this back together here, is when you guys are looking to launch Field and Stream TV and you're looking out at streaming and FAST and devices and consumer changes, everything else, sure, what are maybe one or two of the key things that are changing in the industry that you feel are going to help drive the success of Field and Stream TV?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think what's old is new again in terms of how some of these are being promoted. I still think there's live in MVPD and broadcast. It will the tide, it'll slow down. It'll reach a point of equilibrium. I think in order to be successful, you have to be. You used to be an exclusive middleman, and once you cracked, you were kind of arrived. You have to try and be everywhere, but you have to have kind of the star power, the discoverability to be differentiated. And what we're thinking about is, Doug just articulated very well. We don't have to look back too far to think about TV categories that didn't exist, like food and others, right? I mean, you had some PBS shows and you had some local stuff, but these are massive consumption categories that didn't have companion media. And now the outdoor category, like all of them, have exploded. So it's really trying to respect the special interests and make sure that you're credible, your expert voice, you stay true to that mission and true to the brand. And I think this combination of what we built on the distribution side, we're certainly intent on growing it dramatically, but relying on the expert voice and the editorial and the legacy of what Field and Stream has, I think gives us a puncher's chance to stay relevant for a period of time amidst all the different things that we do want to support that are coming from all over and all of the other platforms. So I'll stop there, Doug, and give you a crack at it.
Well, I certainly agree with the old is new piece. For a guy that brought a 125-year-old publication back to the forefront. I told folks like us starting a magazine in 2025 is like saying we're going to open a rotary phone business. But I think we've done it right. I think we've done it in a really honoring, cool way where people appreciate and they love holding that print publication in their hands. Like there's an emotional connection. We talk a lot, we use the word nostalgia in our brand all the time because Colin, you spoke of like that connection and that knowledge of the brand, why maybe it wasn't personal for you. You knew of it and probably knew some people that are dear in your world that have had a direct, close relationship with that brand. So for us, nostalgia is such a powerful tool in the sense that it's a responsibility. And if you mess it up, people can get real angry and personal. But I think for us to tap into that while, letting the newness of the smartest and newest creators in the space come to life and really playing a curator role where we're helping to give, the new talent, new media platforms a voice is something that we just are super excited and we feel like this platform is going to allow us to do that. And so we're definitely leaning into old and tapping the authenticity and heritage of the brand and plan to do so with the relationship we've formed with Nick.
Well, you are in good company because folks like Disney are doing exactly the same thing. So listen, this has been great, Doug and Nick. Thank you so much for coming and telling us about the deal. I hope you'll come back and tell us how things have gone maybe in a year and we can find out how things are going with Field and Stream TV and Fasts.
That would be great. Really appreciate the time and for you having us on, Colin and Will, and hope to see you guys in person sometime down the road. It'd be great to come back and tell you a little more specifically, Colin, about what we're doing. I'll get in touch with you guys just via email when we announce the show brands and some of the key people we're going to be working with.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Doug, and thanks, Nick.
Have a great weekend, guys. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Inside the Stream is a production of In-Screen Media and Video News, all rights reserved.